Tidal, the new music streaming service, is grabbing headlines and sparking curiosity with its high-fidelity offering and with the support of Jay-Z and 15 other top musical artists who are owners in the company. But in a hyper-competitive industry, how does Tidal expect to become number one? Now one of the top 20 highest-grossing apps with about 800,000 subscribers, can Tidal beat out Spotify and other competitors? I talked with Tidal Chief Investment Officer Vania Schlogel to find out.
Thanks for coming in today. Lots of talk about your company, Tidal, and I want to move right into it and find out what is Tidal from your perspective.
Right. Tidal is more than just a music streaming company. We have the world's catalog, 25 million songs, 75,000 videos, exclusive content available at the touch of a button that you can stream live or hit a button and offline it and take it with you when you're on an airplane or traveling. But there's also a very strong offline component of Tidal that is a message that we're trying to get across, and I think that it will become more apparent through time. These great offline experiences. We did a free J. Cole concert for people in New York. We did Jack White did an acoustic session for some folks in North Dakota. Jay-Z will be doing one upcoming shortly. So there's also a very strong offline component. Okay,
so a lot of people see the pricing structure. Let's talk about that because it's $9.99 or $19.99 a month, depending on whether or not you want the high-fidelity version.
Yeah.
And this company is owned by Jay-Z and a consortium of 15 or 16 other artists who are leveraging their visibility, as you said, to attract the public through these special events that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's a big selling point for this company, right? That's where you feel that you have the edge over the Spotifys of the world, the fact that people have access to, what are they, parties or concerts, if they're members of
whatever the
Tidal?
artist wants to give. So we are a majority artist-owned company. We have artists on the board of directors. Artists shape our operational strategy. We empower them with creative control. And so if artists want to do a meet and greet, a dinner, a free concert, maybe a sporting event, that's that whole offline component that we're calling Tidal X for experience, to give consumers, to give our subscribers.
And we're not talking about just any artist. We're talking about Chris Martin and Coldplay and Madonna and Kanye and all of these people.
Yeah.
But let's clarify something, because when we went into this, before I really had a chance to look at the company, I thought that Jay-Z was actually the owner of this company, but evidently he's loaned money to the company at what you define as a very insignificant interest rate, but the company is actually owned equally by these major artists who were involved in the introduction of the company. Is that correct?
So the artist owners felt very passionately about the mission upon which Tidal is founded, and so the artists are equal owners in the company. Jay's capital that has gone in is at a very, I would term it, below market interest rate to support the growth.
That was the $65 million number, okay.
Right.
And a lot of these people could potentially at some point have the power to pull their music off of other streaming services in the same way that Taylor Swift opted to do so. Do you expect that to happen?
I think it really comes down to the artist's choice.
Is it something you would like to see happen?
I would like to see artists have the choice to be able to mandate whether or not their art is for free or paid. That's what we're not, that's what we stand for. Again, the artists are empowered, and so in the distribution of their own repertoire, they should have a say whether or not they want it to be paid for free. It's a fundamental choice.
And a big part of this is that you're paying artists a higher royalty percentage than they're getting from the other streaming services, and not charging some of the administrative fees that you see other streaming services pay. In layman's terms, how much of a percentage, more of a percentage, are you paying to artists?
It really depends on whether the artist comes in as an independent actor through a major label, because the first point... Okay,
let's say first major label.
Yeah, well, so right now the industry standard is to pay 70% of the revenues. So there are revenues. My understanding is there are some administrative fees taken off of that. And then you get to a net revenue figure, and off of that, 70% of it is paid to various rights holders. What we're doing is we have our revenues, no fees are taken off of that, and 75% of our revenues are paid off that. And by the way, the industry standard is to typically, that 70%. It's an average because usually the artists who come in through major labels are paid a higher percentage than independent artists or artists who don't have a label at all.
Right.
We're paying everyone equally across the board, whether they come in through a major label or whether they don't have a label.
And there's a big component here for independent artists.
Yes,
you mentioned
that's right.
that you'll be introducing new independent artists to the public. Why can't you just go ahead and be a record company?
Well, our mission was to empower artists, especially emerging artists. I should also know, I mean, legally, streaming services cannot sign artists directly.
Okay,
legally,
so it
we're
would be
mandated to.
a conflict of interest, or because the labels would not license you the content?
Yeah, we aren't allowed by the labels to sign artists directly. So,
Okay.
but what we're doing is investing in artists, emerging artists. So Tidal Discovery, an artist has the choice to upload his or her music, utilizing one of our partners right now. Phonophile and Record Union are our partners. And so they retain ownership of their masters. If they pay a $25 a year fee, they keep 92.5% of what comes to the artist. So we're trying to give artists options in terms of what they do. And importantly, we're also putting our money where our mouth is. We're investing in artists. We're paying for marketing costs, for production showcases. I mean, our first artist that we're highlighting is Lily Kay, who's a fantastic artist out of Chicago. She has an angelic voice. And we're highlighting her in Tidal Rising, which is another program that we launched in our first month of operations, to really put a curatorial effort around some of these artists that we really
This is where you have the big name artists say, hey, I like this band in Philadelphia, check them out. Okay.
That's exactly
so,
it, yeah.
So these special experiences and curation of independent music and all of that, that's what sort of separates you from that's your main selling point. But the record companies have a lot of leverage still today. They have long-standing relationships,
Sure.
for instance, with the Clear Channel conglomerate of radio companies, which controls the music rotation, pretty much the majority of the music rotation in this country. It's a lot harder to have a hit without Clear Channel. They also control who they license their music to. So how do you get around this reality?
Yeah, I mean, part of what we're trying to do is to create a sustainable music economy so that artists can be creative. Let me give you an example. When an artist wants to release a song, there's a formula. If you want to get top 40 distribution in those outlets, whether it's radio or what have you, there's a formula. The song is 3 minutes, 30 seconds. And it needs to sort of, can't have certain words in it and can't touch on certain topics. Well, we're trying to say, look, there's another sustainable music economy over here. And you can be as creative as you want. And at the end of the day, the fans benefit from that. And so if an artist has a hub that is commercially viable and economically sustainable for them to release their music, they can release a 12-minute song if they want to, or they can release a song touching on topics that they can't otherwise talk about elsewhere. And it doesn't need to even go mainstream. They can still make a living off that. Right. And that's one of the missions of Tidal.
So how are you different and able to compete without charging the level of administrative fees that you see at other streaming services?
Well, we've made a fundamental decision that we will be cash flow negative for a little bit longer than maybe other streaming services, that we will be unprofitable for a bit longer than other streaming services. It's a fundamental decision we made because we're trying to change a very established ecosystem.
And it's a very hyper-competitive industry. None of the streaming companies, as far as I know, have been profitable yet.
Yeah.
But you're competing against Google and Rhapsody and Spotify, which has 60 million total users currently, including 15 million who pay for access. So Tidal's parent, which is called Aspiro, correct, reported 503,000 paid users in January. How do you become bigger?
We become bigger just by doing what we're doing, which is really showing that we're not just a music streaming service. Like I said at the onset, we have this heavy offline component. But in addition to that, we're really working on giving our subscribers diversity of content. So for example, live sports streaming. We've already started to stream Throne Boxing. Andre Ward's fight is coming up. That's going to be live streamed through the app. So there's that component of it. We've already got Erykah Badu's Western on there, and there will be many more films coming down the pathway.
Okay.
So we want our subscribers to open up the app and feel engaged and like this is a cultural and entertainment hub.
Okay, and also to feel like you're getting them beyond the velvet rope.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of these events.
Yeah,
okay,
that's right.
So, you know, a lot of negative publicity in the past couple weeks. There was a story where they said, oh, Kanye pulled off all the references to Tidal off of his Twitter, and Jay-Z went on a Twitter tirade defending the company, emphasizing the fact that it took Spotify 9 years to get to the level that it's at now.
Yeah.
What's your biggest, first of all, what's your biggest frustration about the public understanding of this company?
Our biggest frustration was that we didn't take the opportunity to tell the story for ourselves. We figured, you know what, we're going to go out and our moment, the first moment is going to be to tell the mission statement, and then within quick succession launch Tidal X, Rising, and Discovery to have our actions speak for themselves. And in that very short window where we didn't tell the story for ourselves, there's, I think, a lot of wrong statements made that, you know, we don't care about the independent artists, and when in fact that is one of the biggest reasons that we started this company. So,
and one of the big criticisms as well is that, well, Beyonce's already rich. Why does she need to get more royalties as a result of this company?
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
Oh, it's just wrong. I mean, there's, you know, these are very established artists. The reasons why they came on and to join the platform was to create, like I said, a sustainable and healthy music economy. Trust me, at that level of the artists who are the founder owners of Tidal, there are much easier ways to license or monetize their repertoire than to come on and invest in a loss-making streaming service.
Mm-hmm. And you're currently burning about $1 million a month, or at least before the company was purchased by these artists. How do you become profitable, and do you have projections for how long you expect that to take?
Yeah, I think if we keep growing the way that we are, we're on a good path. So, you know, it's fantastic. We're very happy. You know, we've said from the start that we're a paid subscription service, and we have a lot of music fans, a lot of people who love their artists coming on board, and so we just want to make that community happy. There's
this whole market now of people that are willing to pay extra money for headphones, you know, from $200 all the way up to $800. I'm one of those people. There are a lot of young people that are buying Beats and Bose and all of these different headphones, but there are only a few headphones that actually are high fidelity compatible. Does that pose a problem for you?
No, and here's why. Because so the hi-fi tier caters to a lot of people who are very passionate about music or musicians themselves. And so we see, for example, a rising trend of folks in the US who invest, and they invest quite a bit in terms of speakers and headphones.
Yeah.
And it basically negates the effect of investing in that hardware by putting a compressed file into it. Because when you compress that file, you're losing instruments, literally losing instruments, and so you're losing some of the sound. And so for the people, for the audiophiles out there, and especially the musicians whose ears are attuned to this, they love the fact that this hi-fi tier is available.
Do you expect your competitors to try to match that at some point and have a high fidelity offering? I know a few do already, but...
Yeah. I don't know. You'll have to ask them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I didn't ask that you think I should have asked to put things in perspective better? Because right now, I think that's your biggest challenge, and the public's biggest challenge is understanding and perceiving this company.
Yeah. I think the biggest message that we want to get across, and that I hope we are getting across through our actions, is that we're here for fans, and we're doing that by bridging the gap between artists and fans. We're the first ever majority artist-owned technological platform. And that means that the artists just have greater control. They're empowered to give to their fans how and when they want. And so, you know, whether that's through Tidal X or when an artist opens the app and discovers great new music that the subscriber wouldn't have heard before through Tidal Rising or Tidal Discovery, that it really ends up being a better experience for our subscribers.
How is it getting all of these very famous people that in their own right are household names to work together?
It's easy, because you know what, when you have a unifying mission statement, when you have a unifying purpose, it becomes very easy to pull people together and try and pull the industry along in the direction that we want it to go.